Have you ever looked at someone and thought they have the perfect life? That was exactly what people thought whenever they looked at me. My name is Vera. At 32 years old, just 32 years old, I had everything most women dreamed of. Successful career, a beautiful home in Lekki, luxury cars parked in my driveway, designer clothes hanging neatly in my wardrobe, and a husband who never allowed me to worry about money. If happiness could be measured by possession, then I was one of the happiest women in Lagos. Or at least, that was what everyone believed. The truth was far less glamorous. One house was beautiful, but it echoed with silence. Every morning, I woke up in a king-size bed that often felt too large for two people. Most days, Chinedu, my husband, was already dressed before I opened my eyes, pacing around the room with his Bluetooth earpiece in place, discussing contracts worth millions of naira while adjusting the cuffs of one of his expensive Italian suits. Even when he was physically present, his mind had already boarded the next flight. Abuja first, I heard him say one Tuesday morning as he zipped up his suitcase. Then Port Harcourt. If the investors agree, I'll fly to Accra before the weekend. I stood by the bedroom door, watching him. "You just got back 2 days ago," I said quietly. He looked up from his phone and smiled. That familiar smile that had made me fall in love with him 6 years later. "I know, sweetheart, but this project is important." "They are all important." He walked over, kissed my forehead, and rested his hands on my shoulder. "I'm doing all this for us." For us. I had heard those words so many times that I had lost their meaning. I forced a smile because I didn't want another argument before sunrise. "I'll make it up to you when I get back." Another promise? Another postponed weekend? Another lonely week waiting for a man who loved me enough to provide everything except himself. The front door closed behind him moments later. His SUV disappeared through the estate gate. Then just like that, the house became painfully quiet. I walked into the dining room, where breakfast had already been served by our housekeeper. 2 plates, one untouched. As always, I stared at the empty chair opposite mine. Some mornings, I imagined another version of my life, one where breakfast conversation lasted longer than phone calls, one where laughter echoed through the house, one where I wasn't counting the days until my own husband came home. Sometimes loneliness doesn't arrive all at once. Sometimes it settles into your life so gently that you mistake it for peace. Until one day, you realize you've forgotten what it feels like to truly be saved. That morning, I had no idea that my entire life was about to change because of something as ordinary as a broken down car. My Lexus refused to start. I pressed the ignition once, nothing. Twice, still nothing. By the 5th attempt, frustration had replaced patience. I called my mechanic. "Madam, don't worry," he assured me confidently. "Give me 20 minutes. 20 minutes became 45, then an hour, then 2 hours. By then, I was already late for work. I called him again. This time, his phone was switched off. I stood beside my useless car, staring at my reflection in the driver's window. If today wasn't trouble, I muttered, then trouble we shall get. I grabbed my handbag and ordered a ride. No driver accepted. Another cancellation. Then another. Lagos. A city where even your backup plan needs a backup plan. Eventually, I gave up and hurried towards the nearest bus stop. It had been years since I had used public transport. The crowd reminded me why. People pushed, shouted, waved at every passing taxi, as though their lives depended on it. A yellow bus slowed to a stop. Immediately, the crowd surged forward like floodwater breaking through a dam. Only 2 seats remained. Everyone wanted them. I almost turned around. Then I remembered the board meeting waiting for me. I tightened my grip on my handbag and stepped forward. Someone shoved me from behind. Another person brushed past me. For a brief second, I lost my balance. That was when I felt a firm hand steady my arm. Careful. I looked up. He wasn't dressed like the wealthy men I usually meet. No designer labels, no flashy wristwatch, just a neatly ironed white linen shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. Dark chains, simple brown shoes. Yet somehow he carried himself with a quiet confidence that made everyone else seem louder than they really were. Without saying another word, he stretched out his arm across the taxi door, stopping the crowd from crushing me as I climbed inside. The people behind him complained loudly. "Ah, Oga, shift now. Leave space. Madam no be president." He ignored every single one of them. Only after I had settled into the seat did he enter himself and quietly closed the door. The bus pulled away. I turned to him. "Thank you." He nodded politely. "You're welcome." Then silence. Not the awkward silence of a stranger. The comfortable silence of someone who had absolutely nothing to prove. For the next 20 minutes, he simply stared through the window, watching Lagos wake up around us. Street hawkers weaving through traffic, school children chasing yellow buses, motorcycles squeezing between impatient cars. He never once looked at me. I found that strangely irritating. Any other man would have started the conversation before we reached the first traffic light. Some would have asked for my number. Others would have complimented my perfume or my smile. But this man, nothing. It was ridiculous, really. Yet I couldn't stop wondering why. Eventually, curiosity defeated pride. "I am Vera." He turned slightly. "Hola." That was it. No questions, no small talk, no attempt to impress me. Just one name. Then silence returned. Oddly enough, I spent the rest of the journey wishing he would say something. Anything. When the taxi finally stopped near my office, he stopped out first. As I adjusted my handbag, I noticed him walking in the same direction. Not towards my office, but to the small art gallery next door. He unlocked the glass door. A modest sign above it read, "Ola's Art Gallery." Before disappearing inside, he looked back for the first time since we'd met. He smiled, not a charming smile, not a fleshless smile, just genuine. It lasted barely a second, but for reasons I couldn't explain, he stayed with me for the rest of the day. "Mrs. Okafor." I didn't hear my name. "Mrs. Okafor." I didn't hear my name. "Mrs. Vera Okafor." The conference room fell silent. Only then did I realize everyone was staring at me. The chairman adjusted his glasses. I asked whether you agreed with the proposal. Oh, I blinked rapidly. I'm sorry. A few people laughed politely. I glanced down at my notebook. The page was completely blank. Instead of taking meeting notes, I had unconsciously drawn the outline of an unfamiliar face. A pair of calm eyes, a strong jawline. The man from Dead Boss. Hola. I quickly closed the notebook before anyone noticed. What was wrong with me? I had spoken to him for less than a minute. I didn't even know his surname. Yet somehow, he had occupied every quiet corner of my mind. And I had the strange feeling that this wasn't the last time our paths would cross. If this story pulled you in, you're already wondering what happened next. Don't leave without liking this video and subscribing to this channel. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. I'll see you in part 2.